Welcome back to the Drive to Succeed podcast. We have the one and only Sami Eltamawy on the show. Thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for having me over on your show.
Thank you, Sammy. So, by the way, I believe this is the second time we're meeting. The first time was on Success Sources,
That's
and we
correct.
have a little bit of chit chat, knowing you that you had started two companies, and which we're gonna, discuss on later. But I'm just really curious about as well for our listeners who are, here today. Who is Sami El Tamawi?
All right. Long story short, I'm Egyptian. I've been living all my life in Egypt. I moved here to Dubai 6 years ago. I started my career as an Android developer, mobile engineer. Then I joined Insydo when it was just founded. And then within Insydo, I grew my career from being mobile engineer to team lead, and then from team lead to chief technology officer, where I was leading the whole tech department in the company. And then from there also, I became co-founder. And then within this company, during throughout this journey, also we founded another startup, which is Brand Ripplr. And Brand Ripplr is an influencer marketplace where it's a smart way of connecting the brands with influencers to work together on social media campaigns. From there, I think in the past few years, I started to grow my passion and develop it much more when it's come to sharing what I know generally. Started when I was an engineer, when I started to actually share the solutions for the problem that I came across if I didn't find solution for them online, which is
Mm-hmm.
something very common among developers. And then from there, I started to when I got into the managerial roles, I started also to share a little bit more about operation, management, people side of work on my blog. And then from there also started to get into creating videos. And then this is where we are right now.
Understood. Awesome. So you have a tech-driven background. You're a developer yourself, and then you transition into influencer marketing and content creation.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm just really curious about because you create a lot of content and you obviously are full-time, employee right now, but still you're, happen to build a successful business as well on the side. So number one thing that I wanted to, get something out of this interview is that how an average person like me who's working on a 9 to 5 job, can start a side hustle and pursue my passion and turn it into a profitable business. So what are your thoughts and how do you get started, doing what you're doing right now?
First of all, let me correct you. You are not an average person. Definitely, I've been following your podcast for a long time. But yeah, it's trying to be humble. I think there are a million ways to go about it, Daniel. I think the first way, which has happened to me subconsciously, is what they call the sweat equity. For people who don't have money, they can and they want to build something. In the financial world, they call it assets, something to actually drive you money in the future. They have two options: either to invest money. If they don't have money, they can maybe borrow money. If they cannot borrow money, they can go for the option that I went for, which is the sweat equity,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
which basically instead of putting money, you put effort. So during the time when I was working in Insydo, was actually I was having this feeling that whenever there is any gap, I should fill it, and this is something. This is one of the beauty of being in a startup, to be honest, where everybody care about the product and everybody want the company to succeed, regardless your role in the company and regardless your core responsibilities. And that got me actually to start to dig deeper into different areas and push and help in different areas, not only the Android domain, which was my profession back then, but also the other engineers around me, and also, and to some extent, also the helping in the business side of the project or the company. And because of this, and because of the hard work and the effort and the late nights, and I remember that there were nights I used to leave the office at 2:30 and sometimes 3 in the morning. And people in the company was like, "Come, go home. You cannot stay that late." And I remember one time I actually went to the hospital and had severe migraine just because of the stress that I was having from work. And this stress was from my side. Like no one actually asked me to do this or to do that, but I really felt the urge that I really want to build something. I really want to help in this team, because the team was amazing back then. Still, definitely. But what I want to say is, it's not the easiest way for someone to actually build a business is to be part of a startup and to show that they care and to show that they not only there to pay their bills, but actually they want to make this business succeed. And definitely the founders of the business will notice this and definitely would want to lock you in. And this is why this is the concept of, you know, giving the sweat equity or the shares, where they try to offer you like, okay, stay with us for 3 years or 5 years, and then every year you will get allocated X amount of shares. And then actually, if you've proven that you can help the business throughout this journey, you will end up with decent amount of share or partial ownership of the company without needing to have any money. You don't have to be wealthy to invest in this company, or you just put your effort. And this is the first thing that people can do. And this is mainly happen in startups. A lot of definitely the corporate companies also give shares or equity, but you don't find it as profitable or as big as when you get it in startups. Because also the startups, the team is small, and the impact and that you can make usually is much more visible and definitely is much bigger, and people will notice it around you. And instead of definitely if you are in a corporate where there is 200 or 500 people working around you and you are just one, you know, part of a whole big engine. So it's not the same. So this is, to be honest, this is the first and easiest way for any hard worker. But the whole the condition here to actually make it, Daniel, is hard work. There is no other option. Hard work and delivering results. And hard work, yeah, like if you're delivering results without hard work, I don't think
Yes.
personally it will work. So those who think that, oh, I'm gonna do my best within the limited hours, and yeah, you will keep your job. Maybe you
Yep.
will get promoted, but don't ask for big return. Don't ask for people to try to invest into keeping you by looking you with some sweat equity. So that's the first approach actually that got me into kind of building businesses and got me started to think of all the concept of actually putting effort and try to get something in return, which is
So,
definitely in the future, not straight away.
yes, yes. And also, I always believe is that if you wanted to learn a certain skill, certain, strategies, it's if you don't have money to invest, just go in a startup and start working for the company. Because probably if there are like two owners and you're the third, person in the office, you probably learn everything. So the moment you leave that company, in case that company didn't succeed, you have now new set of tools, strategies that you can apply in your own startup. And actually, there are two things that I think that runs, positive and negative side on these things, because not all startups can really succeed. So, what are your thoughts on people selecting a startup to work for? I mean, does it need to have something in line with their passion, with their skills, or is it something totally new? Because there's downside that, okay, I'm gonna give in my sweat equity now, but what if the startup didn't take off? So all of my hard work just go up. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
It's a very interesting question, Daniel. I think my take on this would be, I think to be able to select the right startup for you to join, I think it's a mixture of two things. One is the people, which I believe is the most important part. Two is the product itself. The people, because within startup you go through different journeys, you go through ups and downs, and you actually go through some tough times and some stress, and people around you change. And if you don't actually have this chemistry between the team and the founders, and you don't actually feel that you want to get their back all the time, it won't work, because with the first hard wave you will give up or you will break. So that's the first option. It's like you have to make sure that whenever you are being interviewed, and this is one of the mistakes that a lot of people do actually, when they are being interviewed, they try to impress and they get scared even to ask questions back to assure themselves that they are getting towards the right step. And I think interview is for both sides. It's for the company to ensure that you are the right fit, and for you as well, because you will spend the majority of your day, maybe the majority of the time during the whole week, at work. So if you're not happy and if you don't really feel it, it's gonna be like your life might be miserable. So that's the first point. The second definitely is a product that you believe in, and preferably a product that you also use. Because when it's a product that you use, you will try to solve the problems as if you are the user. It's completely different when you work on a product that you have no relationship between, and there is zero, interest into using it. Because at the end of the day, you will not be a user. And if you are not a user, you will not feel the pain of the user. And if you don't feel the pain of the user, then definitely you won't be able to innovate and come up with better solutions to make the user life and the user experience smooth. And as a result, definitely the company will succeed. So the first one is people, to summarize. The second one definitely is the product. And definitely also when it's come to the point of startup fails, yes, a lot of startup fails, Daniel. And this is not a bad thing. And I clearly remember when I was in Insydo and we were going through tough times, of course, like any other startups. And I remember saying once to one of my friends, if this company will fail, I would love to be with them until the end to actually experience it, because I love the team so much. And I feel that there is, there is something strong bond between us, and I believe in the product itself, and I'm not gonna leave it. And also seeing products fails, Daniel, is actually an experience. And I've heard from a couple of founders before that they prefer a co-founder with experience of company that already have failed, because they already have learned and they already have seen the reason why companies fail. Definitely there are millions of them, but at least they are much more aware, more than people who are coming with strong success record all the time, or maybe people who have not failed before, but they don't have any strong background when it comes to building businesses or failing. So it's win-win. If it win, definitely you will win because you made it. And if it didn't, you actually will learn as well, because you will be witnessing a lot of the things that if you have done in the future, you will know that this definitely could lead you to failure.
Understood. Yes. And I always believe is that, I mean, because entrepreneurship is really hard, and now people are thinking that, it's so glamorous that you wanted to call yourself a business owner or entrepreneur, but the real truth is it's very hard to run a profitable and sustainable business, especially for a number of years. I don't know about you, but when you mention about failures, what are your thoughts on starting a business? Is it always important to have a co-founder or maybe have an investor? What are your thoughts? Because you're a tech guy, so you're more knowledgeable than I am in this.
Well, I think personally that the goal should not be starting business. This is the wrong goal, because if your goal is a starting business, you will just figure out any random idea and then hoping that it will work. The goal should always come from a problem that you have so much passion towards solving it. And usually, all the successful startups that I have seen, the founders, or at least the co-founders, were actually experiencing the same pain. If you hear the story of the guy, I think the founder of Uber, he was actually, I think he was living in the US, and he was really having hard time with the yellow cab back then, and because that it taken so much time to wait, and that actually drove him to come up with this idea: how can I solve these problems with a new solution? And it could be tech or it could be non-tech. So the goal should always be solving a problem or making life easier. So sometimes there is a problem that people are aware of, and sometimes there is not. It's not really a problem because people can work it out or can have a workaround solution, but your solution come to make it faster or make it easier. So if you have something that fall under these two umbrellas, then definitely you should go ahead. When it's come to the co-founder, I think a co-founder it's subjective to the character and the personality. Some people are team players and some people are individualistics. And there is no right or wrong, to be honest, Danielle, in this point. Like some people cannot cope, they just cannot work with other people. And then some people cannot go forward without someone to hold them accountable and push them further. So, but the general rule is definitely having a co-founder always help. Because co-founder, like two people is like, they say 1 + 1 usually greater than 2, not equal to 2. You together come up with something you would never come up with individually. So that's one. The second thing is also we are human and we go through different emotions. So if you are today feeling down, then probably the co-founder that you have will not feel the same. It's highly unlikely that both of you, until there is definitely a big crisis like coronavirus or something. So it's having actually someone else give you higher chance of succeeding and controlling your emotions so you can go through the journey. And definitely, especially if this person come with different skill set, so it's actually this person complete you. And if this person actually come with different personality, so let's say I've seen people very optimistic, very energetic, want to drive things and want to go crazy, and then they have a co-founder who's very calm, very realistic, calm everything down and make sure they rationalize it. It does help. But if you are both crazy, if you are both want to go build the rocket from the first iteration, it might not be the best. So choosing the co-founder, I think, is very important, and there are a lot of resources online on how to choose the right co-founder for your business. So I definitely urge people to check them out before, because not every friend you have can be your co-founder, and not every family member you have can be your co-founder, or not every colleague, because they know this thing, can be your co-founder. Because if you think of the future, think of what will happen in the future, think of when the company succeeds, like, and there is money in the equation, usually people change here. So you need to make sure that you choose the right person, that you trust their intention, and at the same time, it's compatible with your personality and complete you skill set wise.
Yes. And yeah, it just really struck on me on that because nowadays people wanted to start, running a business. Maybe they just been laid off or they've been forced leave. So now they have a lot of time. So they're thinking like, what are the things that I can start right now on, maybe starting a business instead of asking yourself, what is the problem that I need to solve in order to provide value? And maybe in return, people are willing to pay for it. So, like you started Insydo and brand Ripplr, so it's influencer marketing. So, what are your thoughts on influencer marketing right now, especially influencers? Because there's tons of influencers right now. Some of them are insensitive, some of them have been controversial. What are your thoughts? I mean, how does the influencer marketing, situation right now in the UAE or at least in the Middle East area?
I think it's all over the world. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Either we like it or not. And there are so many people, and these people are the people that we used to have in the school with us, in the university with us. If you remember, you always had this nice guy and this bully. You always has this controversial guy and this, hard worker. So there are so many people, and these people right now, a lot of them became influencers. And this is one of the good things as well, because you will always have someone that somehow you can relate to, or can inspire you, or you can look up to, regardless if you agree with this person fully or you disagree. But like a lot of the people that I do look up to, they definitely have some stuff that I'm not agreeing with. But at the end of the day, you need to know why you are following this person, and you have your own filters, and you take what you like and what align with your own principles and values, and then you discard the rest, because you will never find your future self. Your future self is basically you, this person that 100% aligned with everything you believe in. It's you. So you need to wait until you reach this person. But I think it's from the marketing perspective, I think it's I don't know, like few years back, it was starting, and actually companies and brands started to actually approach influencers to work with them closely. And the situation was kind of a bit subtle. It was not too commercial. But what I see right now, it's like a lot of influencers right now, they come across very commercial, and a lot of them actually sell product. There is no harm of selling product, but the thing that sometimes puts you off is when you sell product that is completely not related to what you are into, what your audience are interested in. So
Mm-hmm.
it's sometimes it feels forced, and people actually start to trust these people less and less and less.
Understood. But how do you filter influencers that come into your platform? Because to be honest, once in a while I keep receiving, emails, speeches, about can you promote this product? Can you, have posts of this product? All you just need to do is, maybe share this with your audience or buy a certain product, and then you get your affiliate link or whatever. But how does your platform work, and how does it differentiate in other platforms?
Well, I personally have been, I'm not with them on daily basis for I think 2 years since I joined the current company that I'm working with. So I'm far away from the operation, but I can tell you in short that the way it works is it's a bit dig deeper into the analytics. So what we do is we onboard influencers, and then we crawl this information, and then we analyze their audience, and we break it down into like into different criteria, such as the gender, the geographics, demographics, and where they live, and the interest. And then based on this information gets translated in an e-commerce form that when the brands come and join, they can see these informations as filtered. So think about it exactly the same way you go to Amazon to shop for something, but instead of shopping for product, you actually shop for social posts by these influencers. So as a brand, you can go and you select a filter. Let's say I want the age group, let's say between 20 to 25, this audience, and I want people who are based in Dubai, and I want people who are interested into, let's say, beauty. And then based on this, based on the data that we have, we match your filters with the data and provide you with who are the influencers that you should be working with or we recommend you. And this is very important because a lot of the time influencers come across that they have your market audience, but actually is no. And I remember they were one of the influencers. She was, I think, a lady influencer. She's in beauty, but also she wear bikinis and she also like show off her body a little bit. And there were one of the clients want to approach her for some beauty product. And then when we looked at her data, I think 80% or 80+% of her followers were men. So having a campaign with this person, let's say even if she have 1 million followers, you are actually targeting, only 20% of her followers. So without having the data and the analytics, you won't be making the right decision. And this is where brand Ripplr comes to help.
Interesting. Because I mean, rarely companies talk about, analytics, and especially in social media, like people will tell you that, they're gonna give you a media kit saying that these are my followers, they're from this and countries. But when have an audit of their, followers, or their even people engaging in their content, some of them are bots, some of them are fake followers, and it's really hard to like filter out these influencers right now. I mean, of course, there are still those who are succeeding, who have, maintaining authenticity and have this engagement. But, there's one influencer that I think she had a 2 million followers, and then, she started to create this own line of lifestyle t-shirts. But then again, although she had 2 million followers, she cannot even sell 20 pieces of that shirt. And now the manufacturer cannot reproduce the t-shirt into bigger quantities because she cannot even, sell all of these 20 shirts as a sample product.
Yeah, I know what I mean. I think this is, to be honest, if you think about it on a higher level, this problem, not specifically of this influencer, is that it's a lot of people actually are not aware of the concept of minimal viable product. And the concept of minimal viable product, Daniel, is basically when you have an idea, how can you validate it without investing so much into it? And I remember having a discussion a couple of months ago with a friend of mine who is into cooking, and she wants to actually start cook certain cuisine, and she wants to sell it, to do it for a living, because she's so much into it and she's interested into it. And when I spoke with her,
Yes. All right. I think we're okay. Yeah, so let's go back. So you were saying about when you wanted to, start a business, or at least understand how to start a business, you need to have an MVP, which is minimum viable product. Now you were saying you
yes.
had a friend who was in cooking. So tell us more about it, and let's continue for where we cut off.
Right. So it's basically the concept of minimal viable product, Daniel, is basically how can you, with minimal cost or maybe zero cost at all, if it's possible, to validate that your service or your product will sell or not. So let's say if you take an example as this influencer, so instead of just to go and having this idea of like, oh, I'm gonna sell t-shirts and let me go to the manufacturer and produce 1,000 pieces and then spend money and then create the commercial and go forward, then there are a million ways that you can validate. Maybe she can validate with a small question on her Instagram story. Hey guys, will you be interested into this or not? Or maybe she can actually, instead of creating anything, she can have her design ready, but at the same time, don't produce anything and produce piece by piece just to validate the concept. And one of the very interesting stories that I heard, Daniel, about this is one of the authors, he actually sold his book before he even write it. Can you imagine? Seriously.
Who is this
So,
author? Share. What's his name?
so this guy, what he did is he thought about, okay, I'm gonna write a book to solve this problem and to help people figure out this area. And because he was so aware of this concept, what he did, he created the cover, he pitched the idea, and then he made the commercial and made the sales page. And yalla guys, everybody pre-order your book. It will be out in 3 months. And then he made a lot of big deal out of it. And it sold so much. And because of this, he definitely validated that people out there actually need a solution for the problem that I'm trying to solve, and they are willing to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can apply this concept in different ways. And this is one of the things that I'm teaching in my mentorship program, is different ways and different techniques. How can you validate this? And one of the common concepts, actually is very interesting concept, is called the validation quadrant,
Mm.
which basically, Daniel, is let's say I decided to create a podcast like you, all
Mm-hmm.
right? And in my podcast, I decided, let's say, to interview entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I want to actually make money out of it. But to make money out of it, you need to have audience to listen to it. So in this situation, the quadrant, the validation quadrant, actually tell you it's basically two axes. One is online, and the other one is offline, the x-axis, and the y-axis is basically your network and not your network. And
Mm.
for each quadrant of these, you need to interview or sit or communicate with two people to ask them if this idea is actually have potential or not. So the first thing, you reach out to someone in your network, huh, and online, without going anywhere. Hey
Yeah.
Daniel, I'm thinking about this idea, and this is my business model, and this is the way I'm gonna monetize it. What do you think? And then I get from you a feedback, and then I do the same thing with another person, and then I iterate in the other quadrant, which is I go to someone not in my network but online. I reach out to him. Let's say someone else, like let's say Spencer. I
Yeah.
don't know him personally, but I'm aware of him online. I can message him. This is my thought. This is what do you think? And then now I have feedback from two different mindsets. This
Mm.
person know me, so maybe because you know me, Daniel, you might be biased, and you tell me, "Oh, Sammy, I think it's good to do anything, better than just sitting home. Go forward, and you just give me some biased opinion. You care about me. You don't want me to be,
Yeah.
disappointed. But that's sometimes when people ask in one quadrant only. Sometimes you get biased feedback. But when I go on the other side, someone who doesn't know me, doesn't care much about my feelings, they might give
Give
me
you the
more
real
genuine
answer.
feedback. Give me the real answer, yeah. And then you go down to people not not online, offline,
Mhm.
but someone in your network, someone not on your network, which is you meet them in person. I go to someone that I know, let's say he built a podcast, or maybe he's someone who listens to a lot of podcasts, and I sit and I pitch my idea, and then I hear his feedback. And the same thing with someone I don't know, but I see him in person. Maybe I can meet him in another seminar or any event that have the same mindset there. And I do this for each quadrant, two or three people. And then that can give you an initial feedback if it's actually work or not, because you gather so much perspectives from different people. Some of them know you, some of them don't know you. And then eventually you will come up with, some kind of validation. Is it actually, does it have potential or no? That's
Mm.
the first. The second thing, definitely, it's like, and that works sometimes, which is you can just use Google. You can search, put yourself in the position of a user who are looking for what you are selling. But this user do not know the name of the product, do
Yeah.
not know the name of the service. They just know the problem. So think of the problem and try to search on Google and see how many results are there any people doing the same thing or no? And these people, are they successful or struggling? You know what I
Yes.
mean? And that can give you validation. The second way of validation as well is the keywords, Google keywords. This is
Yes.
very strong tool because it can give you the volume of the keyword. It can give you actually how many people search for this keyword every week or every month, and how many people are bidding on it. And this is definitely insightful information, because if there are a lot of people searching for it, then there is potential for you to sell it and make money out of it. And the last option, which is very straightforward, is YouTube as well. Google, search on YouTube and see if actually a lot of people putting their
Are
service
searching here.
actually advertising this, or actually searching on it. The autocomplete functionality can be actually a guide for you. Because if there is autocomplete, that means that there are so much people searched for this to a level that YouTube decided to index this as an auto suggestion. And
Mm.
all of these are ideas or ways to validate actually the idea of your business before you go and invest so much money and eventually it might not work.
Understood. So let's say you had the validation, you had now the right data. You asked, people who are not in your network, people who are in your network. You did your Google keyword, you did your YouTube search, and now what's next? Is it the best time now to, let's say it's a let's say it's a product, either product, digital or physical product. Do you need to create now an MVP and probably try to sell something out of it? Because there are always two sides of the story here. I mean, I always love people who create something, let's say like a pre-selling term. Let's say, hey guys, hey Sammy, I have this digital, book Kindle that is launching in a month or so, but you can pre-buy it now. I probably just write 3 pages or 10 pages out of it, but you can pre-buy it now. But the thing is, if the volume doesn't um, have that much impact, is it not a way of saying people that, hey guys, the book is not launching because we didn't have enough sales? So what are your thoughts on that? And when is the best time to launch an MVP? Because I know you have a data, but you will not know unless you try selling some out of it. So is it important to have an MVP in the beginning, or what are your thoughts?
I think, Daniel, there is you can never be 100% sure. That's a rule, like a rule. You can never, regardless how much research you do, how much analysis, competition analysis in the market you do. There is always millions way the company or the product can fail. And not only it doesn't only have to be the product itself or the service itself. It could be the service itself, or it could be the sales pitch, or it could be the marketing that you have done, or it could be the team actually, or it could be actually some disaster that is completely off, out of your control. Like, let's say if someone started a business of let's say food truck right now 2 months ago, then they went out and they launched it, and then the corona situation happened, everybody's home. So you cannot be sure, but what you can do is you do your homework and you make sure that you take in confident steps. So instead of going blindly, oh, I like this idea, I think it will be cool. No, actually study, take some actions to validate, speak with people, make some research, and actually see some stories of those who actually made it and did it and succeeded, and some who failed, and study why. And then when you do this, you actually taking confident steps, and you actually taking actions that have higher chance of succeed, and this is important. So basically, you're doing your home, you're trying to assure yourself. No one can be 100% confident on something like this. And also that takes us to another point, which is, if your product didn't sell at the beginning, you should not give up, because you need to deviate. You need to try. I've seen a lot of startups that deviated completely their business model from the initial idea that they came up with, completely, something completely different. And I saw also some who deviated slightly, and or maybe I saw some who just changed the payment, the pricing, and some maybe just changing the sales pitch or the marketing team. And so there are a million ways, but you have to, as long as you believe in it and you did your homework, you have to keep trying and don't give up very quickly, because there is nothing will work straight away from the beginning, unless you actually are a very experienced person and have a validated problem and you have done it a million times, and then you have higher chance of actually something work. But if you are coming up with new solutions, or maybe solution that is very competitive, then you might need to be a bit more patient and try harder, and don't give up from the beginning, and try to get feedback as much as you can. That's why there is a beta stage, or the beta version of a product, where you launch the product or the service and try to get people feedback, and they try to give you, offline feedback or online, and they tell you and criticize you, and then you take this feedback and keep evolving the product. That's why, back again to the same example that you told me for this lady, let's say, imagine if she printed 1,000 t-shirts, and these t-shirts are all, let's say, in one color, and then people somehow they didn't like this color, and they think that if she changed the color slightly, slightly, it could potentially sell, and they will be more than happy to. And because of she already went forward without validating and getting early feedback, she now the expense is very high, and the loss for her is very big. But if she did one piece or two pieces just to get the feedback, and then iterate on the top of it, then it will be much more efficient for her. And this is what we call it actually in the software industry, the Agile Methodology, where you build iteratively. You make the minimal viable product something very basic to test it, and then you get the feedback.
So what do they call it? Agile?
Agile.
Agile, understood.
Yes. So, imagine if you want to build a vehicle that take you from one place to another fast. So instead of going to invest so much and to stay 2-3 years trying to build a car, maybe try first to build a bicycle and see how it will work, and then put an engine to this bicycle and see how it will work, and then on the top of this maybe put a front light to this bicycle, and then maybe make this bicycle with 4 wheels or 3 wheels first, and then from there 4 wheels, and then try to put the body. And when you do this, you're actually getting early feedback and you're validating that the solution that you have solve a real problem for users and they're actually willing to pay for it.
Yes, yes. And also, this is one of the reasons why if someone approached me saying that, Daniel, I wanted to build an app, Daniel, I wanted to build a platform, then the initial response was, have you asked people if they wanted to use that platform, or is there a certain problem that they are solving? Because basically, if you build an app, or you build, let's say, a comparison website, or even this website that has 3D, where you can, what do you call this, like enlarge and lighten, these probably are eating up so much storage space and server space that you need, huge money to invest on that kind of responsive website. But going back to what you're saying about agile tech and MVP, I assume, not assume, I know that you are knowledgeable, because otherwise we'll not be spending a lot of time in here. It's really a good way to refresh myself about all of these topics, which I believe goes back into your mentoring program. Before your mentoring program, I noticed that you've been creating a lot of content. You've been reading a lot of books. Tell me, what is the top three books that is, that comes into your mind? Your favorite top three books that makes an impact in your what you're doing right now.
And that's a very difficult question. Top three books, because they are not three. It cannot be three. Look, I think there are a lot, but I'll try maybe to
Yes.
tell you some of them that are like really close to my heart. One of them is called Show Your Work. And this is, to be honest, like this book is as important for me as my laptop. I cannot not have it around. Why? Because this book is what got me to actually start creating videos. It's the main concept. I'm sure you will relate to it because you are into personal branding. So the main concept here is about personal branding and about the importance of showing your work and the importance of expressing yourself to public, and how right now the fact that you are only positioning yourself as a CV or a LinkedIn profile with list of skill set is becoming outdated. And there are so many people trying to attack the same opportunity that you are attacking. And for you to stand out, you need to have validation. And the validation in your case is your thought process, is your experience, the mistakes that you have done, not only the achievement that you have made. And because of this, and the author was trying to attack the topic from different angles and trying to tell you why it's important and what would happen to you if you didn't do it and how to do it effectively. And one of the key things that I still remember is people are interested into the process more than actually being interested into the end result. Meaning, and he was referring in the book to an example of an artist. So an artist standing in front of his masterpiece that he's trying to sell, and for a lot of people it might look like a piece of garbage, to be honest. Might not understand what is it. It looks so messy and it looks like something wrong with it, but he's selling this piece for sometimes millions just because of the process. They never sell this piece of art because it looks beautiful. They always sell it because the inspiration for him, or the way he drew it, or maybe the time of his life that he does. So there is always process involved, and that's what makes it valuable. So the author here was saying, share the process, even if it didn't work. Share the process. If it worked, that's even better. So, and express yourself, and you can express yourself either visually, like videos, like what we're doing right now, or maybe audio, or maybe by writing, or maybe, by actually sharing other people's opinion and commenting on them. So there are a million people, but you have to start. So this is one of the most important books in my life, to be honest, because it changed my life a lot, and it made me take the first step towards putting my face in front of the camera, because it was very intimidating for me, to be honest, at the very beginning. Another book. I think another book that I would really recommend to people is called The 10% Entrepreneur. And I think a lot of people would relate to this book, and I've talked about it a lot also on my social media channels, because it simply is, how can you build business, or how can you build another source of revenue, not necessarily building a startup, while keeping your job. And this is, it's not easy for anyone, Daniel, to quit their job and to say, I'm going to start my own business without actually having strong validation or at least financial security. But this book is solving this problem. It's telling you, even from its name, the 10% entrepreneur, by just dedicating 10% of your time, how can you put yourself in the entrepreneurial journey. And he was saying that there are 4 or 5 ways to do it. Not all of them have to be building a business. Building a business could be one of them, but also working as
On
advisor.
page, yeah.
Some of us can be another solution. Let's say creating some kind of passive income can be another solution. Practice a passion that can drive you money, also another solution. So there are many ways. And the author is stressing on this one. And how can you get the basics of building these business, or maybe monetizing any of the passion that you have in a way that still does not impact your day-to-day job. You still keep your own security, and then you can sustain and build something on the side. And once this actually grow to a level that is started to show so much potential, then you can start to think of quitting your own job and pursuing this full time. So that's the second book that I would recommend to you, maybe also, if and the people.
Yeah.
You still interested in another one?
I think we're okay because there's a lot of information. I don't want to overload our audience today. But
Okay.
that's just to recap those two books. Number one, Show Your Work. So it's basically all about
Yes.
validation, your process, not rather the end result, but the process.
Personal branding as well.
Yeah, personal branding as well. I remember there is one analogy about, I forgot the name of the artist. Let's say, the what was it? What's the name of the structure in Athens? This Rome. What do you call this?
Museum.
Yeah, the Colosseum. So it was that built in one day. The artists had probably been staring outside the arena or something, and but it takes time to build it, and also it takes time to see the real beauty of it, which I believe every one of us who wanted to start a personal brand or use at least some professional image that can attract opportunities out there, like you and I right now, which I believe make me attracted to you because I mean, not attracted basically, but rather attracted to
Oh,
have you on on the podcast. We're both married, so guys, don't worry about this is PG rated PG. But anyway, going back, so number two, 10% entrepreneur is all about how you can have start generating income even using 10% of your time. And also just let's get going with your mentorship program. It's called 7 by 7. What it's all about, how can people know about it, and what are the things that we can learn about your mentorship?
right. To be honest, the idea came from, it's actually came validated because all the topics that I'm covering in this program are actually questions that I have received in social media
Mhm.
multiple times, and got me thinking, but people need this information.
Mhm.
In short, for those who don't know the program, it's basically a combination of different skills and different domain, different knowledge that you need to acquire to be successful in any field. And what got me to think about it is actually my journey, and coming from a position where I've been looked at as someone who's below average, and people didn't want to team up with me, during my university, they thought that I spend all the day in the gym and I don't
Yeah.
have any brains. And actually it was very hard time for me because everybody want to feel valued from people around him. And also I was the reason why people felt this way, because I was not actually, I was trying to take shortcuts and okay, let me get just the grade that make me pass this year, and then I don't need to worry about anything else. And as a result, definitely I developed this bad impression, and actually it was not only impression, it was impression and gap. And then started to get over this stage by maybe moving country, leaving Egypt and coming here to Dubai or going anywhere else. And I found it very difficult, very challenging. And that was because of me, because actually during these years that I started to take shortcuts and didn't invest much time into learning or studying my core career topics, I was so much behind, and I didn't make it in a lot of interviews. And I remember, I think at least I had 70 plus interview, and each one of them, Daniel, you can imagine these interviews, each one of them comes with excitement. Hey, I have an interview, I think I'm gonna make it finally, and then end up with disappointing. And I remember one of them was like the hardest one. The hardest one was Facebook.
Mm.
I was applying to Facebook, and then I made it to the first stage, and then the interview process lasted 4 months. 4 months I was studying, trying to solve different technical problems, and then and level up my skill set. And then in the interview went horrible. and they gave me a problem that I completely got, like my brain was like gone somewhere else. I couldn't solve anything. And what drove me crazy, Daniel, is I came up with a solution the second day while I'm showering. And it was like, oh my God, I could have just said this is a solution. And each one of these journey is actually, excitement, frustration, excitement, disappointing. And then that got me to start to realize, oh my God, I think I'm in a bad position and I need to sort out and try to hold myself accountable. And it's me, it's nothing else. It's not the situation, it's not people, it's not my whoever. So, and then that got me to read. And I remember that the book that I've read the first time after this it's called The Power of Failure. And like I was
This
walking
is
around.
Damon John, I think.
I don't remember the name, but I think it was black cover.
Understood.
What I remember is I was walking down in Egypt, in downtown Cairo, and full of failure. That was dominating me. And then I saw this book. I was like, oh my God, this book is for me. Let me see. And then the guy was talking about how can you use failure as a fuel to drive you forward, and failure is not something bad as long as you're gonna learn from it. And then I started to actually step up a little bit more. I started to dedicate my time only for learning in my career, trying to be a better engineer, and at the same time learning the soft skills that allow me to succeed. And then with this and with time, I started to realize that the combination of them together is what make you succeed. The combination, your core technical skills and the soft skills, how to speak with people, how to present your idea, how to sell, how to market yourself, the personal branding, how to actually control your self-discipline, how to be self-disciplined and to be able to control yourself when you feel demotivated, how to lift up your own mood. So all these soft skills are, in my opinion, are fundamentals for you to succeed. Not only being good in your job,
yes.
Even negotiation, how to negotiate your salary, how to negotiate even your position, and how to prove that you are valuable. So what I realized after a few years of all of this back and forth is you need both of them together. And you need a lot of concept, like this small idea of MVP. If this girl, let's say, knew about it before, maybe it could have saved her thousands of dollars. So what I made is I made this program. I put all these basics together from different areas based on different books that I've read and based on my personal experience in a way that anyone can take it and run faster in their own journey. And it will save them a lot of problems or mistakes that I have personally committed, or maybe the authors of the book have committed. So you don't need to go through the same thing again and again and again. And I also designed it in a way that help people to build the habit of learning. So a lot of the time you get course, or you buy a course online and then you end up just excited about it because they end up watching it. But what I've done here in this program is I tried to break down each of the lessons into 7 to 10 minutes video. Yeah. Very straightforward, and each lesson come up with a worksheet that have how can you apply it, and have questions that make you think and apply it right, but on daily basis. So every day you come back and you see the new lesson, it gets unlocked to you. By doing this, if you manage to stick for at least 21 days to a month, you already successfully, congratulations, you build the habit of learning, because now it's becoming part of your day-to-day, and it's becoming something that subconsciously you have to do it. And either you continue or not in the program, at least right now, you have the urge of, I need to learn something new every day. And this is like both of them together, I believe, is a very strong combination for people to succeed.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it just really struck a chord there about the habit of learning. To be honest, I never really thought about that, because for me, reading books, listening to podcasts, interviewing people like you to gain something new, wisdom or nugget, is just second nature to me. But I just realized that before, when I was just starting out, I don't like reading books because it kind of it feels boring, makes me sleepy. But then when you're passionate about a certain topic or something that you wanted to start, you're doing everything to learn something new. And for me to know that this is one of the key things that you put in behind in your mentorship, this really makes me think about what if I do that in my own program. So,
I think it's very interesting. And to be honest, coming to your point, Daniel, with sometimes you find it boring. I think it depends on the way you read the books. And I was recently listening to one of the audiobooks, and the guy was saying that not because you started, you have to finish it. Meaning that sometimes we end up picking the wrong book, And because we have this perception of like, okay, I started the book, I have to finish it, and then now we get stuck and we end up not starting something new and not finishing this one. So the way I personally deal with books is I have to always look at, like, try to check it out online before I purchase it, and then go through the topics and try to read the author also style, because each one of us have different tolerance to story versus being, having the information straightforward. And then
Yes.
when you get the book, you go through the index and the table of content and try to understand what are the topics that this person is covering. And then you don't need to read all of them right now. Maybe you read one or two chapters that interest you the most at this given moment, and then you
Yes.
part. But right now, it's registered in your mind that there are solutions for these problems. So in the future, if you came across these problems, you know where to go. You go back to your book and then you
Yes.
revise it, and then you already have the solution.
Absolutely. You know what? I actually have, I think, more than 200 or 300 books in my home right now. My only, the only challenge I had is that I didn't realize that, because I love to, put some underlines on the book. Instead, what I should have done when I started collecting all these books or reading all these books is that I put a, like post it and have my notes on it so I can just flip it. But looking back now, I don't have time to do it everything. But so seven by seven mentorship is online program which is dedicated for people wanting to start a business, that wanting to start a side hustle, or probably people who are already experienced. I don't know, like an expert or seasoned entrepreneurs
Want
already.
to
Or
build personal brand, or actually want to be more productive at their job, and to grow faster in their own career path.
understood. So where they can go? Do you have a website?
Yeah, it's called the mentorship.samitamawi.com.
Mentorship.samitamawi.com.
Yes.
Got it. So no problem. I'm gonna put on the link on the episodes and all the social channels once we publish this episode. So just two more questions. Who are your inspiration? Do you have mentors?
I think I had a lot of mentors. Uh, so I've, as I told you before, like a lot of people that I actually look up to. I don't look up to them fully. There are definitely things that I agree with and things that I don't agree with. But some of these people, definitely Gary V. Like Gary V. Like I've watched a lot of his content and really inspire me a lot.
Yep.
Also Grant Cardone. Like as much as like he's a bit too flashy, but I really like the guy. I like how he approached life, and I like also if you hear his backstory where he was like drug addict and how he changed his life from being drug addict broke,
Yes.
living in a very small tiny house in the street, to being right now like this big deal. So, and also Tyler Bass. So these people are into sharing, and I really like anyone who is into sharing, because like for me it doesn't really inspire me that much to see a very successful businessman, but he's not actually sharing with people, or not actually trying to put his thoughts in a book or in a video format or audio or anything.
Yes.
So anyone who actually share is someone that who inspired me. And I've had a couple of them, and I have also had the kind of a mini mentorship with John Lee. If you know John Lee,
Yes.
sure you know him. So I have the mentor, like we were a program with Grant Cardone as well. I went through it. It was I think it for 10 weeks. So like yeah, I invested so much into these and I actually put a lot of money into them, and I got from each one of them something that's, to be honest, like together I formulated my own
Yes.
direction, my own, and also coming from background the Egyptian, and coming from background also like of starting from nothing as well, and going through the journey with big aspiration. It's made me consolidate and made my own process and thoughts, and ended up putting this in this program.
Yes, exactly. And also I believe is that if you wanted to be the best, you're gonna learn from the best. And these programs exist because the traditional learning or traditional education is kind of outdated. Some people might agree, some people might not agree, but if you really think about it is that thank you. So if you really think about it, is that Forbes made a article, I think sometime 2018, that the e-learning industry will jump up to $325 billion, is because people like you, like me, like Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk, or not Gary Vaynerchuk, Ty Lopez, and other people who created these courses is giving a specific solution which answers a common problem. Like you, for instance, you have this mentorship, and of course you and I might have the same content, might have the same course or program, but the delivery is totally different. And this is where the personal branding comes in, and this is where the own experience, knowledge, and like failures that I've come across, can really differentiate each and every one of us in this industry. So, what are your thoughts on, should people consuming content online or going into courses, or what are your thoughts on, do they need to go to the school, or I'm just really curious before we end.
To be honest, I strongly believe that if you want to succeed in anything, you have to make yourself as comfortable as possible in it. Meaning that if you don't have any tolerance to sit and read a book, it's completely fine. Maybe you should go for audiobooks. And if you cannot focus with an audiobook in the background and you are a visual person, there are programs like mentor books right now where you can watch the author explaining to you the key takeaways of the books. So whatever format you love the most, that is compatible and work the best for you and your character and your way of consumption, go for it. I personally do mix of three. I try to read, but not every day I'm in a mood or I have time to sit and read. But I do a lot of things that I can multitask doing it. Let's say like an exercise, maybe like walking the dog, and I use this time to also to listen to audiobooks, and it give me, I still can focus. And sometimes also I feel like, oh no, I'm not into this mindset right now. I want to sit and watch and learn. So I do the three of them, but every person have their own mood. And sometimes also I go attend webinars and attend actual seminars for a few days. So all these information and all these formats are actually effective. It just, you need to know what work the best for you, and also the kind of information that you are taking, because some information can be very good to listen to an audio book or podcast, and some other information, no, you have to sit and you have to interact with the instructor and you have to ask questions to make sure that you make the information crystal clear in your brain. But to be honest, anyone who want to make an impact in this world or who actually want to succeed, he have to create. And if you want to consistently create something new, creative, add value, you have to consume. And if you stop consuming, you will stop creating. And so you have to always listen to people around you. You have to listen to always and read always new books, and you need to always make sure you are updated with what's new and what's going on in the world from your competition in the market, or from people you look up to, from anyone. Because if you stop at some point, like, our brain is like a queue. You have to feed it something to actually come up with something else. And I strongly believe if I have not read so much books in the past, let's say 10 years, I would have never actually been in a state to say anything right now, because this is a result of a lot of information that I have fed my mind with. And then throughout my journey and my experience and from my background, I tweaked it in my way to make, to make it sound like Sami El Tamauwi. And it's, you stop feeding, you stop, producing. So it's a very hard rule.
Yes, I do understand. And there's one interview that I did in the past with Andy Harrington, which is the public speaking coach, where if you wanted to always be delivering, a wow experience, speaking on stages or even delivering training, you need to always update yourself, because your customers are always updating themselves.
True.
So if you're not growing, then you're probably, teaching the same old thing, and that's not good.
And updating yourself, it's the information that you are taking, but also the way of delivery. Because let's say if back in the day people used to watch TV, so the delivery was in the TV and the radio station was very high. Right now people are on social media, and people right now not only on YouTube, right now on TikTok or on Instagram, and each platform dictate on you certain formats or certain structure for your content. So if you are not able to be agile and adapt to be able to deliver your content in an up-to-date way, then definitely things might not work out.
I do understand. All right. So, Sami, where can people find you, know more about your work, and what are your social media handles?
It's Sami Eltamawy, one word, no underscore, no nothing. Sami Eltamawy, SAMIELTAMAWY.
And you have a website?
Yes, it's samieltamawy.com as well.
Understood.
No, I did a good job in picking up the name.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, that's one of the things that is I mean, for me, just finding a domain, danielfrancisco.com, is not already available. And even on Instagram, I think my name is so common that people are starting to, I cannot get those handles anymore. So.
Yeah, I know it's a bit tricky. It's like some people get lucky with it, some people no.
Yeah, understood.
But
All right. So before my last and final question, I just want to acknowledge you, Sammy, for spending your time with us, sharing your wisdom. I'm sure there's a lot of value that have been getting extracted from you, your experience, not just your knowledge, your information, but really your wisdom, the real truths that you've experienced yourself. Which I really love about, and I feel like we can speak for hours and hours just throwing back and forth ideas, but we gotta end the show. So Sammy, my last and final question to you is: if everything is stripped away from you, let's say a couple of years from now, or maybe 10 years from now, your mentorship program, your two businesses, and whatever you create in the future, if everything is stripped away, you got to start all over again. What would be your main drive to succeed?
I think what would be my main drive to succeed if this happened will be the same, because my drive to succeed is the same as the addiction to be successful in whatever domain that I choose, and which is mainly driven by my passion and what makes me happy. And right now, more than ever, I started to value doing the things that I enjoy and doing the things that actually make me feeling happy throughout the process,
Mm-hmm.
not only based on the results, which implicitly mean not a job that give you money, but actually a job that makes you enjoy, even if you're gonna take less money. So this drive, I don't think it will change, because if everything material can be taken from me, I still have my brain, hopefully, unless
Yeah.
yeah, and definitely like maybe the motivation will be much more because you have responsibility, you have to family to take care of, but I would definitely the drive will be the same. It's just and it's addiction, and it's like it's never ends. When you achieve more, you get this feeling that you have actually accomplished something and it is doable, and you get more confidence in yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and then that push you further, trying to put more and to actually increase your benchmark and trying to achieve much more. Then when you achieve more, wow, that's doable, I'm going to achieve more and more, and it's endless. That's why it's like it's quite rare to see successful people to retire success, like
Mm,
they always
understood.
top it up, and they don't stop. You know what I mean? People who retire and say I'm done, usually the average mindset. But people who actually like who have billions or millions, they don't give up, and even when they retire, they have their money working for them.
I do understand. Yes, and I also believe the moment you stop setting a goal, that's the time you actually start getting old. I mean, these are one of the I think one of the secrets why, let's say, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, are still working, because they have a bigger goal and they are driven to live longer so they can solve bigger problems, which
Sure.
probably can solve within their lifetime. Also, just something I'm really curious before we end. You mentioned about happiness, passion. What makes you happy right now?
I think what makes me happy is creation. I think this is the word. Creating creating content, creating businesses, creating assets that drives you money, uh, creating impact in people's life in a form of information, in form of encouraging them to change or to take actions or to read books or to develop themselves, or maybe me giving them the information straight away through my
Yes.
personal programs or my platinum program where I help people one-on-one. But I think creation, because it's the day I don't create anything, Daniel, is the day that I feel down. I feel like it's not productive. Like even though if I consume, then I learn a few things. I think this is what I can like. This is a word creation.
Understood. All right. I think, Sammy, that's it for today. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. See you in the next episode.